When it first premiered, The Passion of the Christ didn't just attract audiences, it seized them, demanding their full attention. Millions watched in stunned silence, drawn not merely to a story but to an experience that pulled at the very edges of their humanity. It was more than a film. It was an unflinching exploration of suffering, faith, and the human capacity for cruelty and compassion. From the first frame, it provoked emotions so raw and intense that conversations about it spilled into living rooms, classrooms, and dinner tables across the globe. And decades later, it continues to ignite debate and reflection. Yet, despite the awe it inspired, the movie faced formidable resistance from the very start. Few could have predicted the intensity of the backlash or the intricate layers of meaning that lay beneath the surface of Gibson's work. In a candid conversation that left many stunned, Mel Gibson revealed truths about the film that had largely gone unnoticed. Speaking with Joe Rogan, he shared the intentions behind his choices, decisions that were frequently misunderstood, dismissed, or ignored altogether. Many remember the violence, the relentless, unflinching depiction of Christ's suffering, but Gibson emphasizes that every moment of brutality was deliberate, carefully designed, and necessary. It was never gratuitous. Each strike, each agonizing moment served a purpose: to prevent the story from drifting into abstraction, to ensure it could not be reduced to mere legend or historical spectacle. Softening the suffering, Gibson argues, would have diluted the meaning entirely, transforming a deeply human and spiritual struggle into a distant, sanitized tale. While the crucifixion dominates the public memory, few grasp the significance of the film's opening sequences, where its theological foundation is subtly, but profoundly, established. The Garden of Gethsemane is no ordinary setting. It is a battlefield of the Spirit. Darkness envelops Jesus as he kneels in isolation, the weight of the coming events pressing on his shoulders. His disciples lie unconscious, exhausted, and unaware of the enormity of what is unfolding. The scene is meticulously composed to show divinity confronting real, visceral dread, fear that is bone-deep, soul-deep, so profound that it manifests physically. The sweating of blood, far from being a cinematic flourish, is a rare but medically documented response to extreme psychological distress. Gibson included this detail to communicate a truth that words alone cannot capture: the crushing, human cost of the suffering that was about to unfold. And then there is Satan. But this is no caricature of evil. There are no horns, no fiery backdrop. Instead, Gibson presents a subtle, insidious presence, quiet, unsettling, and terrifying in its very restraint. Satan's power lies in doubt, in quiet seduction, in the way fear and uncertainty worm their way into the heart. When the serpent is crushed Beniathfoot, Gibson deliberately evokes Genesis, a symbolic nod that passes unnoticed by most viewers. Every frame of these sequences operates on multiple levels at once: historical, theological, symbolic. The Passion of the Christ was never intended to be passively consumed. It demands engagement. It challenges viewers to confront the weight of sin, the burden of human responsibility, and the incomprehensible depths of divine love and suffering. The genius of Gibson's vision lies not just in what is shown, but in what is implied. Every shadow, every glance, every subtle movement carries meaning. The darkness of the garden is palpable. It presses in on the viewer almost as much as it does on Jesus himself. The silence of the disciples, their oblivion to the unfolding struggle, amplifies the isolation, reminding the audience that this battle is fought not only against physical torment, but against despair, doubt, and spiritual desolation. It is a confrontation that is simultaneously intimate and cosmic, personal and universal. Gibson forces the viewer to witness it fully, without comfort, without detachment, without the safety of abstraction. In these opening moments, the film establishes its purpose: to make the audience feel the weight of Christ's suffering, not as distant observers but as participants. The story is not merely historical. It is ethical, spiritual, and existential. It asks the viewer to consider their own responsibility, their own complicity, their own humanity. Every detail, from the oppressive darkness to the faint tremor in Christ's hand, is designed to pull the audience into this confrontation. This is cinema that challenges, unsettles, and transforms. It is not entertainment. It is a reckoning. The making of The Passion of the Christ was a journey that tested every boundary of physical endurance, emotional resilience, and spiritual conviction for both the cast and the crew. Jim Caviezel, who portrayed Jesus, was not merely acting. He was living each agonizing moment. Gibson made it clear that the suffering on screen was real. The weight of the cross was not a prop. It was crushingly tangible, leaving Caviezel physically injured and exhausted. The scourging scenes were executed with actual blows, leaving the actor to endure true pain far beyond what most performances demand. This was not a stunt or a dramatization. It was a deliberate immersion into the suffering that the story demanded, a commitment to authenticity that few could comprehend. But the physical hardships were only part of the story. Production was marked by a series of strange, unsettling events that left the cast and crew questioning reality itself. Lightning struck the set multiple times, sometimes dangerously close to the actors and crew. Caviezel himself was reportedly hit during the crucifixion sequence, yet miraculously remained unharmed. These incidents, repeated with uncanny frequency, created an atmosphere in which coincidence no longer seemed plausible. Many who worked on the film described a sense of the sacred, or even the supernatural, pervading the set. Several actors recounted personal transformations. One entered the project as an atheist and left with a deepened faith, while others spoke of unexplained healings, improvements in chronic ailments, or profound shifts in perspective. Gibson presents these stories not as proof of the miraculous, but as experiences too profound to dismiss casually. The intensity extended beyond the actor's physical and spiritual experiences to the very fabric of the production. Every detail, from the meticulous design of sets to the precise positioning of the camera, was imbued with symbolism. Every shadow, every flicker of light, every painstakingly choreographed movement carried theological weight. Gibson's insistence on authenticity meant that even the most seemingly minor details had to reflect historical, spiritual, and symbolic truth. He scoured ancient texts, early Christian commentaries, and symbolic traditions, integrating them into the visual narrative in ways that most filmmakers would never attempt. The result was a film that was not simply watched, but felt. When the film was finally released, the reactions were immediate, polarized, and intense. Critics were sharply divided. Some hailed the film as an extraordinary act of artistic courage, a work of unmatched honesty and spiritual depth. Others condemned it as excessively violent, sensational, or even dangerous, warning that the film could be misinterpreted or misused in historical and theological contexts. Religious leaders weighed in, debating how audiences might respond to its stark realism and uncompromising depiction of Christ's suffering. Gibson, however, was unshaken. He had anticipated the controversy. To him, a film that confronts the raw reality of sacrifice and human cruelty could never achieve universal approval. Neutrality, he believed, would have rendered the story meaningless. The very power of the film lay in its ability to divide, to provoke thought, and to confront audiences with an unfiltered truth that few were prepared to face. The film's creation also revealed Gibson's personal devotion to the story he was telling. Every choice he made, from the actors he selected to the painstaking authenticity of the crucifixion, was guided by an unwavering commitment to truth as he perceived it. He wanted audiences to feel the suffering, the isolation, and the moral weight of the narrative. He wanted them to reflect on humanity's shared responsibility in the unfolding of this ultimate story of sacrifice. It was not enough for viewers to passively watch. They were meant to confront, to wrestle with, and to reckon with the implications of what they were witnessing. Even decades later, the legacy of the Passion of the Christ endures, in part because of the uncompromising devotion Gibson demanded. It is a film forged in pain, both physical and spiritual, in the face of industry resistance and personal risk. It stands as a testament to what can be achieved when a filmmaker prioritizes truth and authenticity above comfort, commercial appeal, or consensus. Every strike, every shadow, every whisper of wind on the set contributed to a cinematic experience unlike any other, a story that continues to challenge, haunt, and inspire audiences around the world. The sacrifices behind the scenes were just as real as the ones portrayed on film. Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus, endured actual physical pain. The cross weighed heavily upon him, causing real injuries. The scourging involved genuine blows, but beyond the physical toll, production was marked by events that deeply unsettled the cast and crew. Lightning struck repeatedly on set, crew members were hit, and Caviezel himself was struck during the crucifixion scene, miraculously unharmed. These incidents created an atmosphere where coincidences felt insufficient as an explanation. Many involved reported personal transformations. One actor entered the project as an atheist and left with newfound faith, while others described unexplained healings or improvements in health. Gibson presents these stories not as proof, but as evidence of the extraordinary intensity surrounding the making of the film. When The Passion of the Christ was released, reactions were immediate and polarized. Critics either lauded its honesty, artistry, and courage, or condemned it as excessive, sensational, or even dangerous. Religious leaders debated how the film might be interpreted or misused historically. Gibson, however, expected division. A film that confronts the raw truth of sacrifice could never achieve universal approval. Neutrality, he argues, would have been failure. Now Gibson's upcoming project, co-developed with Randall Wallace, ventures further than any biblical film before. It explores the resurrection not simply as a historical event, but as a cosmic phenomenon that touches upon redemption, the fall, eternal conflict, and humanity's place in the divine order. This is not a conventional sequel. It aims to probe the deepest existential questions, the intertwining of life, death, and eternity itself. Gibson himself has wrestled with faith. His belief has been tested, questioned, and reconstructed over decades. He poses a question central to his storytelling: who willingly dies for something they know to be false? That question underpins the intensity, authenticity, and moral gravity of his work. Gibson's upcoming Resurrection project is shaping up to be one of the most ambitious and audacious undertakings in modern biblical cinema. Co-developed with acclaimed writer Randall Wallace, the film is conceived not merely as a sequel to The Passion of the Christ, but as a profound exploration of the resurrection in its fullest spiritual, existential, and cosmic dimensions. From the earliest stages, Gibson made it clear that this would not be a conventional retelling. The film seeks to illuminate the resurrection not simply as a historical event, but as a pivotal moment in the universe's moral and spiritual architecture, an event that reverberates through eternity, touching on themes of redemption, divine justice, the fall, and the ultimate stakes of human free will. Unlike typical biblical sequels, which often rely on familiar formulas, Gibson's vision is experimental, daring, and unapologetically bold. He wants to probe the deepest mysteries of faith, the interplay between mortality and eternity, the consequences of human choice, and the cosmic scope of divine love and justice. The narrative does not shy away from the metaphysical. It seeks to visualize concepts that have traditionally been considered beyond the reach of cinema. Viewers can expect encounters with fallen angels, journeys into spiritual realms, and a depiction of Christ's descent into hell, a theological moment known as the harrowing of hell. That has never been attempted on this scale in mainstream film. Gibson's approach to storytelling is inseparable from his personal faith journey. He has wrestled with doubt, been challenged by disbelief, and painstakingly reconstructed his understanding of God, humanity, and morality over decades. This struggle informs every choice he makes as a filmmaker. Central to his creative philosophy is a question of profound moral weight: who would willingly die for something they know to be false? For Gibson, this question underpins not only the story of the resurrection, but the entire emotional and spiritual resonance of his films. It drives the authenticity, the intensity, and the uncompromising realism that audiences have come to expect. The project's scope has necessitated extraordinary logistical and technological considerations. Gibson has explored cutting-edge visual effects, including digital de-aging, to maintain continuity with the original film while portraying the three-day gap of the resurrection narrative convincingly. Casting decisions, too, reflect a delicate balance between authenticity and practicality. The role of Jesus, once played by Jim Caviezel, will be revisited with precision, ensuring that the portrayal honors the spiritual gravitas of the character while adapting to the narrative demands of the sequel. Key roles such as Mary Magdalene, the Virgin Mary, and the Apostles have been carefully recast with actors chosen for both their dramatic skill and their ability to convey the nuanced emotional and spiritual complexity Gibson seeks to capture. Even the production locations have been selected to enhance authenticity and atmosphere. Filming is planned across historical and scenic sites in Italy, including ancient towns, ruins, and vast open landscapes, as well as the iconic Cinecittà Studios in Rome, which provides both flexibility and grandeur. Every setting, every angle, every piece of set design is meticulously curated to serve the film's theological and emotional objectives. The goal is not just to tell a story visually, but to immerse the audience in a world where the spiritual stakes are tangible, where every shadow and beam of light conveys meaning, and where viewers are not mere spectators but participants in a narrative that asks them to confront the ultimate questions of existence. Financially and logistically, the project is monumental. With a budget in the hundreds of millions, Gibson is navigating the delicate balance between ambition and feasibility, ensuring that neither technological constraints nor commercial pressures dilute the power of the story. Distribution plans are equally ambitious, aiming for a global audience while preserving the integrity of the narrative and the intensity of its spiritual message. Above all, Gibson's Resurrection project is driven by conviction. It is a work born of faith, experience, and personal struggle, a cinematic endeavor that refuses to compromise, to conform, or to shy away from difficult truths. It promises to challenge audiences in the same way The Passion of the Christ did, by demanding reflection, engagement, and emotional involvement. It is not intended merely to entertain. It is designed to confront, provoke, and inspire, to leave a lasting imprint on every viewer who dares to witness it. Mel Gibson's Resurrection project is shaping up to be an epic unlike anything the modern cinematic world has seen. Co-written with Randall Wallace, the screenplay builds on a story Gibson developed with his brother Donal, blending historical fidelity with spiritual imagination. Produced alongside Bruce Davey, the film is the second chapter in a planned trilogy that seeks to continue and expand the narrative first explored in The Passion of the Christ. Every creative choice has been guided by Gibson's desire to create a story that is not merely seen, but felt, a story that challenges audiences to confront questions of faith, morality, and the nature of existence itself. At the heart of the story is Jesus, now portrayed by Finnish actor Jaakko Ootinen, who takes on the immense task of embodying a figure already immortalized by Jim Caviezel. Ootinen's portrayal aims to balance reverence, human vulnerability, and the profound weight of divine purpose. Mariella Garriga brings a layered and emotionally nuanced performance as Mary Magdalene, while Kasia Smutniak portrays Mary, the mother of Jesus, grounding the narrative in maternal love, grief, and unwavering faith. Together, the cast navigates a story that oscillates between human suffering and celestial confrontation, ensuring that the spiritual stakes feel immediate, tangible, and emotionally resonant. The film ventures boldly into the mystical and the surreal, exploring Christ's descent into hell, his encounters with fallen angels, and the harrowing of hell. Gibson has described these sequences as almost psychedelic, a journey into the spiritual unknown where the boundaries between the divine and the human blur. Unlike traditional biblical films, which often render spiritual events symbolically or off-screen, Gibson's vision immerses viewers in the chaos, awe, and terror of the supernatural, seeking to make visible the invisible. The result is a cinematic experience that is at once unsettling, transcendent, and profoundly moving, a vision of the spiritual cosmos brought vividly to life. Production has spanned iconic and historically rich locations in Italy, including the ancient stone streets of Matera, the scenic vistas of Gravina in Puglia, and the atmospheric towns of Genosa, Torre Guacido, Brindisi, and Krakow. These locations were chosen not just for their visual splendor, but for their ability to evoke a sense of timelessness and authenticity, immersing viewers in a world that feels both historical and spiritually charged. Cinecittà Studios in Rome provides the technical and creative infrastructure for the film's most ambitious sequences, allowing Gibson to blend practical effects with state-of-the-art visual technology. With a confirmed production budget of $100 million, the film demonstrates Gibson's commitment to realizing a vision that is both technically extraordinary and spiritually profound. The first installment is scheduled for release in the United States on March 26, 2027, and promises to challenge, move, and inspire audiences worldwide. Away from the cameras, Gibson's personal life has mirrored the intensity of his cinematic endeavors. In 2017, he appeared in the comedy Daddy's Home 2, displaying his versatility and willingness to explore genres far removed from epic religious storytelling. That same year, he became a father for the 11th time with Rosalind Ross, continuing a lifelong pattern of balancing personal responsibilities with professional ambition. Over the decades, he has tackled diverse and challenging roles, from gritty, morally complex action heroes to deeply reflective biographical characters, often navigating personal controversies, legal challenges, and professional hurdles with characteristic persistence and conviction. Gibson's personality, both on and off screen, is defined by an unapologetic honesty and a willingness to court controversy. He is politically and culturally unfiltered, often expressing views and humor that divide audiences and colleagues alike. Yet this same uncompromising approach is what informs the intensity and authenticity of his work. Faith is central to his worldview. Deeply aligned with traditional Catholicism, he immersed himself in ancient texts, theological commentaries, and centuries-old religious practices while preparing for the Passion of the Christ. He collected religious artifacts, studied the early church, and cultivated a deep understanding of Christian symbolism, all of which informed his approach to storytelling and cinematic design. Throughout his life, Gibson has faced personal struggles that have shaped his resilience and perspective. He battled alcoholism and endured periods of depression, but through rehabilitation and personal discipline, he cultivated the focus, spiritual depth, and emotional insight that now inform his films. Even today, his habits and routines reveal a man committed to balance, reflection, and the pursuit of meaningful work. Financially, Gibson's accomplishments are as remarkable as his artistic ones. With an estimated net worth of $425 million, he has built a fortune through decades of acting, directing, producing, and endorsements, alongside savvy investments in real estate. His holdings include sprawling estates in Malibu, a ranch in Costa Rica purchased after the completion of Apocalypto, and a history of high-profile property acquisitions and sales that reflect his keen business sense. This financial independence has allowed him to take creative risks, pursue ambitious projects, and maintain artistic freedom in a Hollywood often constrained by market forces and conventional storytelling. As viewers, we are left with questions that extend beyond the films themselves. What explains Joe Rogan's silence during his conversation with Gibson? Was it awe, disbelief, or the recognition of witnessing the rare fusion of conviction, artistry, and spiritual depth? And as Gibson's resurrection story begins to unfold on screen, will it surpass even the intensity, controversy, and emotional resonance of the Passion of the Christ? One thing is certain: the story is far from over. It continues to evolve, inspiring debate, provoking reflection, and offering a window into the mind of a filmmaker who refuses to compromise when confronting the deepest questions of human existence. For audiences and admirers of cinematic storytelling, Gibson's journey is a reminder that film can be more than entertainment. It can be a conduit for exploration, reflection, and confrontation with truths that are often avoided in everyday life. His work challenges viewers to engage fully, to question, to feel, and to wrestle with the very essence of sacrifice, redemption, and belief. Thank you for joining this deep dive into Mel Gibson's life, career, and cinematic vision. If you found this exploration insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the next video on your screen to continue discovering fascinating celebrity stories, behind-the-scenes revelations, and cinematic journeys that push the boundaries of imagination, faith, and artistry.